Yesterday, Donald Trump brought race into the US presidential elections. The former president appeared before the National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago and he claimed that Kamala Harris, the first black and Asian American vice president, had in the past only promoted her Indian heritage. First, let's listen.
I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe
I
that
think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone. I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Now, why does it really matter, race in the United States? In fact, why is identity politics in the US such an important thing? To talk about this, I have with me Ambassador Suresh K. Goel, Robinder Sachdev. In the studio, I have with me my colleague Justin Thomas. Justin, first reactions on hearing what Trump said. Is she black? Is she Asian? She's Indian earlier and now she's become black?
Because Trump, see, it's the same case came up with Obama also when he was talking about his birth certificates and all that kind of thing. So he has that tendency of pushing his opponents into a corner on these issues. And race is as important in US like caste is important in India.
I was just coming to that.
Yeah, so that plays a very big role in terms of how you are going to, your voting alignments are going to be made, what kind of people you need to target, the population.
Yes.
That all things come into fore when the race comes into play out here. So Democrat in that sense have made a good choice in terms of, I believe, the race card is going to be reflected in the VP candidate also running mate for that.
Absolutely.
So we are going to expect that, while at the same time Trump has gone with what the Republican candidates also wanted. So him going to this event specifically, he wanted to, you know, obviously appeal to the other communities, the black communities.
Yes.
But the jury's out on how the things are going to out for him.
Absolutely, jury's out, and it's just about a little over 90 days we'll know. But Ambassador Suresh Goel, you know, isn't it very interesting what's going on in the US right now? The US is a progressive country. It's way ahead of India on many counts, it seems. But when it comes to basic issues like, you know, race, it's very similar to the Indian elections. As Justin pointed out, Ambassador Goel, the fact that race is to the United States what caste seems to be to India. And here you've had repeatedly caste being raised, you know, which caste is the Prime Minister, which caste is the opposition leader, all of that. What's your takeaway from this huge race debate that's on in the United States right now, this battle over identity, Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump?
See, the point really here is, in the American populace, the racial identity has always been kind of a subterranean, subconscious kind of a thing, where you think of the black, but you don't call them black because basically then it is taken as a kind of an abusive or derogatory term. So you use a different term. But those identities play a role in the subconscious mind, in their own decision making. But if you look at the previous election campaigns, with the exception of Trump, have you heard of any presidential nominee? But it is Trump basically, who is for the first time using a racial identity to question a nominee. So therefore, I would say this is actually more Trump specific, number one. And why is he doing it? Do you recall what his slogan for the USA is? His slogan is "Make America Great Again."
Yes.
Number one. Number two, what was his main platform? His main platform was the blue-collar white workers in the previous elections, because they were losing their jobs to the immigrants. And his policies have been always anti-migration, anti-immigrants. And therefore, what I see Trump, when he's saying all these things, is playing the immigration card in a kind of a very subtle manner,
Right.
saying that these people who are here, we do not know who they are.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
we have to look at it this way, frankly.
These people, that's very well put there, that it's another Trump allegation. These people who, these immigrants, they're prone to taking U-turns on identity, and that's what he seems to be suggesting with this as well. But Robinder, Sachdev, you think this is a very unique Trumpism that we just saw, that he's questioned Kamala Harris's heritage, by basically saying that she was Indian to a point and then she took a U-turn and she became black. But how do you see this? I mean, is this the start of what possibly could be an even nastier election campaign in the United States, where it's about race and you already have the Republican surround sound now building up, drumming up on the fact that, listen, Kamala is not even sure about her own roots and her heritage. She just chooses to ride whichever race card is more convenient to her nomination. What's your thoughts on these?
All of the thoughts that you listed out are the same thoughts, I think. Certainly, the first question you had was a very big question. I'll say that. Is this phenomenon, across America, is it the new America now, or is it only a unique Trumpism? My thought to that is that it is definitely a very unique Trumpism, what Trump is doing, the narratives he's building in the country. But unfortunately, or whichever way, these will now become the long-term trend in American politics. That's one. Secondly, it reminds me also, I mean, in a very big picture, VP Singh Mandal Commission in India, I mean, in some senses, I think at least as very innocently, quote unquote, if I were to say I was a teenager then, I mean, we did not have any idea of caste and all.
Yes.
But the 89 thing in India, to my time, if I look back, kind of suddenly brought the idea that caste, yes,
right.
No, fair enough, I'm not waiting. So it could be that kind of a moment in American politics, I think, that wherein the various castes are getting more highlighted. But on the other hand, the flip side is this. This is marketing 101.
Yes.
You segment your market. You segment your segments by their demography, their age, their income standards, their geographic, etc. This is marketing 101.
Marketing.
And these politicians,
yes, absolutely.
And these politicians, be it in India, I mean, in India we have, all parties make exact calculations in each constituency, how many of A, B, C type people, and then whom to give the ticket to, etc. That's what's happening on very scientifically.
Right.
Okay, so, and that is also happening scientifically in America, was happening, let's say. But Trump brought into it, he kind of came in like a bull in a china shop. He's just kind of, he's taken off. And this is definitely driving multiple things in America. For Trump, you see, as Ambassador Goel was mentioning, his base, one big part of the platform is MAGA, Make America Great Again.
Yes.
The point is, when was America great? That they want to make America of that kind.
Right.
The America of the kind that MAGA and Trump and all romanticize and talk about is like, let's say, the 1950s America.
Right.
Okay, and Trump has himself also said that that was a great era. Trump would have been a young 10, 12-year-old, 14-year-old kid then. But the perception of America of the 50s, wide open spaces, single family homes, mom at home, dad goes to work, has a car.
Absolutely, the golden age, so-called, if you can call it that.
Age.
Yeah, he's invoking the golden age of the United States.
No other colors,
yes.
quote unquote, no other skin colors, right? So that's the utopia they want to make.
Right, absolutely. That's a utopia that Trump is kind of promised. But I was, Justin, I was listening to this MAGA, Make America Great Again. It reminds me of Raga, what Raga is doing back home with the caste census. And he's also kind of playing on the identity politics kind of thing. But interesting observation by Robinder, that the fact that the United States is possibly going through what we went in 1989 with Mandal and, the identity politics coming to the fore. But more of this, you think? Where did it all begin in the United States? Was it with Barack Obama's campaign, 2009?
I think identity politics was always there, but it was at a sub-level.
Yes.
It was never out there.
Absolutely, as Ambassador Goel mentioned,
yes,
very
exactly.
subtle, it's
very
below
subtle it was there.
Below the surface.
Yes, because if I remember correctly, even when Barack Obama's fight, I believe, was against John McCain.
Yes.
And during one of his debates, a contestant talked about the race of his opponent, Obama's race. And at that time, John McCain, being a gentleman, army personnel.
Yes.
And he quickly raised out, he said, you shouldn't talk about it, you shouldn't raise that kind of
Yes.
thing. So I believe it was always there.
Right.
It's only when Trump came out, because he had to, because nobody gave him a chance
Right.
in 2015 against Hillary.
Yes.
So he knew he had to strike fast, and he took that identity politics out there, put it out in the open, and he went clearly, he said that, hey, listen, I'm doing it openly, maybe others are not doing it in that way, but I'm like this.
Right.
So I'm going to directly. So I believe Trump made that differentiator, is the person who had actually made the identity politics more out in the open, acceptable to people.
Yes.
And where the white Americans are clearly, because I have a lot of conservative friends out there, and they really identify with him, with all his policies, all the cases.
Yes.
It doesn't matter to
Yes.
them. But I think the fact that he tries to ensure that their interests will be kept, that comes out in fore, and that makes them popular among the Bible Belt, along all those conservative, blue-collared, and that's coming out in open, and he has set the tone for everyone to follow.
Right, but I want to ask you very quickly, Justin, before I move on to Ambassador Goel, on the fact, Vivek Ramaswamy, when he was an early contender for the president, of course he dropped out. What was the kind of identity politics that Vivek was playing on? The fact that he was quite proud about his Indian roots. Of course, both his parents are Indian immigrants. But what has he been saying about this race debate that's on in the US right now?
I think he played on the God part more than the race part.
Right.
The fact that he's very religious, he's very conservative in his thought process.
Yes.
I think that he identified more than the color to negate that issue of color. But then again, a lot of Trump supporters said, we like you, love you, but then again, you're not white. So that's the thing that jumped up against him.
Yes.
So I believe he's the future for the party.
Yes.
Because that's how the party is going to take the route. I'm sure he'll be given some responsibility, but
Right.
at the time, the race right now that Trump is playing, nobody else in Republican Party can hold on to it, and that's why he was not really. He's the future, not the present.
He's the future, not the present. But talking about the immediate future, Ambassador Goel, when you're looking at Kamala Harris, Democratic presidential candidate, she's yet to announce her vice president running mate. Who do you think it will be, given the fact that there's such a polarized environment right now in the United States, the fact that race is being invoked, and she's being targeted for supposedly taking a U-turn? What would be Kamala Harris's vice presidential nominee, you think?
Is there a prize here for making the right guess?
Well, I think there could be. If you're close to it, we could. Certainly.
I'm not going to get into that kind of a game here. Sorry.
Right.
Because it's a very, very difficult thing.
Right.
I can only say there are so many choices which are available to Kamala at the moment.
Yes.
But if I can only make one oblique suggestion, that she probably will choose a white face for the vice president's nominee. Who it is going to be, anybody's guess. She's traveling through several battleground states.
Yes.
It could be a pick from one of those, really. But if you begin to list who they are, you might come very close. But it is going to be a white face. But Sandeep, while I'm on the subject here, let me make one very simple point here. And I'm tempted by the comparison between Mandal Commission and Raga and what MAGA is all about.
Yes.
See, when you compare the USA of today with 1950, it was all basically huge land opportunities, everything.
Yes.
There was no contest, there was no competition for opportunities there. It was a huge economic cake available to all the Americans.
Yes.
Today, when the jobs at stake, when there is unemployment, economic opportunities are shrinking, then these issues of, just like in the Western Europe, right conservatives are now again coming back. It's a question of economic opportunities for the people.
Absolutely.
And when the question of economic opportunities come, then all kinds of identities come into play here. Mandal Commission came into the play here.
Yes.
When the question of the other non-reserved categories began to be a really question. That why should they get more opportunities?
Right.
Similarly here, I think questioning the opportunities for the other communities, which Trump will say rightfully belongs to the other community, is not going to go away for a long, long time to come.
Absolutely, very important point there, Ambassador Goel, that the fact that, as you correctly mentioned, that it's all a battle for economic opportunities. The fact that you have a pie that seems to be shrinking. It's the same case in India as well. If you look at many progressive so-called forward communities that are agitating for reservations. We've seen the Maratha agitation of late. We've seen Jats agitating for reservations. It's all about economic opportunity. But coming back to the United States, Robinder, Sachdev, who would be Kamala Harris's running mate? Again, based on this, Ambassador Goel clearly said it's going to be a white male possibly face. Do you think that's QED? It would be a white male vice presidential nominee for Kamala Harris?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I was thinking a few days ago about this. So to my mind, who would it not be?
Right.
It would not be a woman.
Right.
Okay, it would not be a woman. It would not also be somebody like whose name is in contention, but let's say as a case study, Pete Buttigieg. He's a gay.
Right.
Okay. So it would not be a woman. It would not be somebody, let's say, from the LGBTQ community or wider community, right?
Right.
So these are two things out. I would think else, she would be narrowing down, and it will come down to probably, yes, a white male.
Yes.
Now, who that is, we do not know. So that's, but this, sure. So that's my
right. So we know absolutely. So it's a list of who it will not be. So we very clearly know who those names are going to be. But Justin, any prizes for guessing?
I think
a contest?
There's a recent poll that came in where vis-a-vis Vance, there was saying that Senator Kelly is the one who is on the just ahead of the others in terms of getting the choice of a running mate. So I think he fits completely all the boxes: experienced person, white candidate, and also has a very strong constituents in the Senate also. So I believe that's how this going to be played. But I guess in next couple of days we'll come to know.
Next couple of days.
But interestingly, there's a hashtag that is running around about white dudes for Kamala hashtag.
White dudes for Kamala, and that appropriate considering how race has come out front and center in the US elections. But thank you very much, Ambassador Goel, Robinder Sachdev, and my colleague Justin Thomas for highlighting that issue in the United States right now. It's the stuff of memes, the race to the White House.